What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for you rascals and rapscallions out there. As always, I hope everybody's having a great weekend, enjoying some spooky movies, especially seeing how we are in the Halloween season, October. I'll tell you what, I've rewatched a lot of really good horror movies over the month and seen some good ones for the first time, including Terrifier 3 last night, which was quite the experience, which I'm going to record a second video right after this one back to back. My thoughts on Terrifier 3 if you want to check that out. I just felt like recording two videos today. But anyways, as you could tell from the title, we are going to do 5 horror movies that surprised me. Now, this came off of an idea from Hoss McPizza, which is an amazing YouTube name. I posted something on the community tab asking guys what you wanted me to do in the month of October. And he had a pretty good suggestion of movies that were quote-unquote challenging to watch that sat on my shelf for a long time that once I finally watched, I really liked. So I really want to follow up on that idea, but I think I'm going to do that after October because I want to add more non-horror into it because I think there's a lot more non-horror titles that I had that feeling for. And also, I know a lot of people suggested for me to review the entire Halloween franchise. I did the entire Friday the 13th franchise last October. And to be quite honest, guys, I can do some of them. I can do a ranking. I just don't think I can get through Halloween Ends again. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. But the new Nightmare on Elm Street 4K comes out this Tuesday, so I think I'm going to rewatch all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, review them, and rank them or whatever. I'm not quite sure. I know I'm going to rank them, that's for sure. But anyways, on to this video. It was going off of Hoss McPizza's idea with 5 horror titles that surprised me. Stuff I never seen before. When I finally watched it, I thought it was great. So anyways, let's get right into this. So the first one actually could be seen more as like a black comedy than a horror movie. I keep this in my horror movie section. Has elements of horror for sure. Isn't it strange how we decide to organize our shelves? You know what I mean? I have some sci-fi in with my horror, some sci-fi out of my horror because it's more action, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, we have The Vagrant. Now, this stars Bill Paxton, and this was just a lot of fun. This movie right here, it pretty much follows, kind of reminds me of Destroy All Neighbors in a way. I'm only saying it because I just recently watched that, but follows Bill Paxton, who's kind of like this pushover employee at his job, and he's looking to get a starter home, and he's kind of bullied into purchasing this fixer-upper home as well. And he finds this vagrant, this homeless guy that's been going into his house that he just purchased, like to get water and stuff like that. And he lives out in the streets, just a homeless guy, really gross-looking dude. And he is just getting under the skin of Bill Paxton around every turn. He tries to bring like his love interest over to his house, and he builds this big security system, getting paranoid. And it kind of, what I like about it, turns into like a thriller, a psychological thriller in a strange way almost, where like you can't tell if Bill Paxton is really believing what he's seeing, if it's actually happening, or if it's all in his head. So like I said, kind of similar to Destroy All Neighbors in that regard, but this was one I never really heard of, and I'm a big Bill Paxton fan, and when I watched this, I was pleasantly surprised. It's a very, very weird movie. It has almost like a Serial Mom-esque strangeness to it, if that makes sense. That would have been a good thumbnail if I reviewed this, but gotta love a good Arrow video release with the slipcover. I ended up folding and going to MVD and getting that damn Friday the 13th, 2009 4K. I own it in the box set on Blu-ray, and it's not one of my favorites, but the FOMO got real this time, guys. It's already out of print pretty much. So anyways, I have a couple zombie movies in here, and this is one I have talked about in the past. It's a Scream Factory release, The Battery. Now, I love almost all zombie movies. It's hard for me to find one that I don't like. World War Z. I remember I went over to my sister's house around Christmas, and she's been trying to get me to watch that for years. And then, she's like, you still got to finish World War Z. I said, I didn't really care for it. She goes, you were watching the whole movie. I go, well, what am I supposed to do around everybody? Be a pretentious horror fan? Like, turn this off. I was just not my style. But this is pretty good, especially for a low-budget horror movie. It follows like 2 former baseball players who are struggling through the zombie apocalypse. And I'll tell you what, a lot of these zombie movies hit different after going through COVID and everything, because it kind of reminds me of that in a lot of ways, like the distance and them being like alone and everything. So like one of the friends is kind of a lot more outgoing. He wants to be like a nomad and just go from one place to the next and just live on the road, where the other guy is just desperately trying to find some form of like normalcy in this new world of the zombie apocalypse. And they have their ups and downs. It's a really good movie. Like, it's weird to relate this to like Clerks, but that's like what comes to mind. Like, or Dazed and Confused, like a movie where it's all dialogue pretty much that carries the movie, just the conversations. Which when you could do that right, that's what really makes a movie really good in my opinion. So they have a lot of conflicts based on what they want in their friendship. Kind of easy for me to say. Their relationship has issues, which is one of the best uh, points of storytelling in any zombie movie. But what's the best part about this, if you've never heard of this movie, is the final act. They get trapped inside this car, this a station wagon, I believe. And they got to try to escape from there, and it's just like the isolation they have inside this car, and trying to make up the plans for their escape. It's just something very different and interesting. But I think what really makes this movie, obviously besides that final act and the car that's amazing, is just the interaction between our two main characters. You can really feel how alone they are while watching this movie, just because it's pretty much just these two guys the whole film, besides a couple other people scattered through the movie. But a lot of fun. Battery. Okay, next up is one I never heard of at the time. It was an Arrow video release once again, and this is Hell High. Now, I did not know what to expect from this movie, and that's exactly how it played out. This started very strange, where we had like a flashback from this little girl watching like a murder or something in the beginning. She gets traumatized from this and becomes a school teacher in the future, where these kids right here start tormenting her. It really reminds me of like Class of 1984 in a lot of ways, where these kids are just harassing this teacher who's just so... She gets triggered by a lot of things because of what she's seen in the past. And when I say Class of 1984, it has a scene that follows up with something that happens in that movie. Some sexual assault, which is never very easy to watch in a horror movie, but that really threw me off when they did that towards the end of the movie to this teacher, which you can see on the cover. That's what becomes of it. It triggers everything in her, and it turns into a you-know-what and revenge kind of movie. And you can't help but root for the person that was abused like that, the teacher, and a lot of fun kills after that. Turns into a slasher at that point, which it's not much of a slasher until maybe the final act, but this was just something very different. I did not expect a movie like this going in, and just overall, like, not even just good for slashers terms, I would say. This was just in general a really good horror movie that I suggest you guys check out if you have not seen it. Now, this feels sacrilege right now, talking about a Christmas movie during Halloween. But I'm going to throw up Christmas Evil. So if you get time to purchase this and get this ready for the Christmas season. I really like this movie. It's about this guy who grows up to just be like the biggest fan of Christmas. He's a real big loner, maybe like a middle-aged guy working at this toy factory, I believe. And he just loves Christmas so much, and through the isolation and seeing like the bad treatment around the holiday season and just like the Christmas evil on some other people, he ends up kind of like losing it and going crazy. So this, once again, more of a psychological thriller. I know I'm comparing a lot of these to other movies. It's just the best way to gauge some of these. So Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, or even Madman. This is kind of similar in that vein, where it's more of like a psychological evaluation of this guy just going crazy, and he ends up donning the Christmas suit and going for a killing spree through the town. This is some really good stuff, looks really grimy, and this has one of the funniest and weirdest ends with him and his big white van full of toys, which that part is up for interpretation on what really happens. But once again, another movie where a guy's kind of losing it, and you can't quite tell where the balance between reality and fiction is in this guy's mind. But one of my favorite killer Santa Claus movies. Is anybody getting the Silent Night, Deadly Night 4K from Scream Factory, by the way? I'm definitely going to get that. I don't know, just that original poster artwork. I can't resist. So the last one we have here was one I was excited for. I got this at a convention at Astronomicon. The Vinegar Syndrome booth was there. I wish they would show up more, damn it. But this is Flesh Eater. Covering up, there's some nudity right there. But this is Bill Heinzman. He was the original Graveyard Zombie in the original Night of the Living Dead. And this movie gets a lot of hate from people. A lot of people don't like this film. But I've heard, a decent amount that do love it. So it's kind of a middle-of-the-road kind of film. I know CHH over there does like this movie a lot, which that was nice. One for the good guys. It just follows Bill Heinzman This is a really, really good Halloween movie to watch. It takes place on Halloween, where all these kids, like 6 or 8 of these kids, go on this hayride out into the woods, have a bonfire, and drink a bunch of beer. And the groundskeeper discovers this grave with Bill Heinzman in it, and he comes out of the grave and starts killing everybody. And I don't want to give too much of this away if anybody's planning on watching this, but what I love about this, for one, the first act is not what you think it is. They board themselves up in a house, and you're like, okay, this is how the movie's going to go now for the rest of the movie, a classic board up the window zombie movie. No, it gets completely different from there. And there's a lot of scenes where there's a lot of practical effects, really good practical effects. A lot of kills in this movie, just kill after kill after kill. And I love that this starts with one zombie, and you don't really see any extras. Every zombie you see going forward is one that you've seen get killed by another zombie, and it just keeps building up. So this is almost like, I wouldn't say a prequel to Night of the Living Dead, because it could have been, because Bill Heinzman, that could have been how he got out of the grave, but it kind of shows more how the zombie apocalypse is starting right off the bat in a different way, which I think is a lot of fun. And if you're into good practical effects, a spooky, atmospheric Halloween movie, this is the one. I'm not covering up again. I don't care. I don't follow the rules here on YouTube. But this is just fun. You know, like they have a whole killing scene that takes place at this Halloween party. There's a scene where people in the house get killed handing out candy on Halloween night. So a lot of things that kind of refer back to Halloween. And if you're a fan of just good old-fashioned zombie kills with great practical effects, this is the one for you, and it's a little different than any other zombie movie I've ever seen. So those are the 5 movies that I was surprised about the first time I watched them. Pleasantly surprised. We have The Vagrant with Bill Paxton, Battery, Hell High, Christmas Evil, and of course, Flesh Eater. So yeah, check any of those out. Let me know in the comments if you guys have seen any of these movies before. And other than that, I will check you guys in the Terrifier 3 review I'm about to record right after this. Other than that, Blood, Guts, Gore, I will check you guys next time.